Hey, Dragonfire here. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All that jazz. I already did a full review of the Terminator franchise. That big long review was 2 hours long, so that was a pretty big one. Given all my thoughts on the series, I wanted to jump in and do a quick ranking. I did do a ranking at the end of my other video, but I decided to make a short ranking for this video. A little easier to access ranking for the Terminator franchise. So I'm going to tell you right now that this was a hard franchise to rank because I had a clear bottom, a clear middle, and a clear top. But within those bottom, middle, and top, it was hard to rank. So out of the 6 movies, I think my 2 bottom were pretty clear, my 2 middle were pretty clear, and my 2 top were pretty clear. But where exactly to rank them, and if you ask me on a different day, I might rank them a little bit differently because some of them are almost interchangeable for me. But for my number 6 of the franchise, I'm probably going to have to go with Dark Fate. I just didn't really enjoy this movie, and it made a few really big, heavy mistakes, in my opinion. Um, Try to keep this one brief, so I don't want to do too much of a review, but yeah, I just didn't find the movie that enjoyable. And let's take Genesis for my number 5. It is also very convoluted in its plot, but I could easily switch these two around, and I think Dark Fate is less convoluted in the plot and just doesn't work overall, whereas Genesis is more convoluted in the plot, but is maybe just a tad more enjoyable. I don't know. That's what I'm going to say for today. Next up, we have, I think I'm going to go with Salvation as my number 4. And it, for me at least Salvation tries to do something new. It is the most original movie since the first movie. It's not the best since the first, but it is the most original since the first. Um, in that it introduces a new concept and doesn't follow the format of the other movies in the franchise. I will say that they all follow the same basic format, except for Salvation kind of veers off significantly from that format. But they all, to an extent, do something different and new with the concept. So at least they all have some original ideas that they're throwing in there to change it up a little bit. So that's nice. But Salvation just overall doesn't work as much of a movie for me as the 3 that are above it. So that's why it gets my number 4. Alright, the bronze medal, I'm going with Terminator 3. The reason this one beats out Salvation is that it's more fun. It's a fun action movie, whereas Salvation has its moments and is, you know, does some things that are somewhat interesting, but overall it just doesn't work as well for me as part 3, which I think just is just more fun. Um, part 1 and part 2 are super super close, and they each have their merits. Um, part 2 has maybe one or two very minor drawbacks. Part 1 is basically flawless, but for me, part 1 takes my silver medal because it's just the overall of the movie is great. I love it, but I just don't enjoy it as much as I do Terminator 2. Terminator 2 to me is just a little bit more enjoyable, perhaps the greatest movie of all time. I mean, one of the greatest probably the greatest action movie of all time. It's just right up there with anything and everything. And it's just so much fun. And yeah, they did basically reuse a lot of the same basic story structure from the first movie, but they did it in a fun, exciting, action-packed way, and that's why Terminator 2 and the upgrade of the original Terminator to the T1000 was so cool, such an original creation, such a cool way to go with a science fiction concept that was introduced in the first movie with the original Terminator, and then this movie just boom, blows the lid off of that concept with the T1000. And so I really enjoy that. So ultimately, why the first Terminator movie may be more technically proficient in a lot of ways and have a lot of advantages storytelling wise, it definitely doesn't have the special effects of part 2. Part 2 beats it in that category in special effects. But I still think both movies are great. Either one of them could have been my number one, but I'm going with Terminator 2 takes gold, Terminator 1 takes silver, Terminator 3 gets my bronze medal, and Salvation completes my Mount Rushmore for the Terminator movies. And I understand what they were trying to do with Genesis and Dark Fate, and I think there's some interesting concepts there, but ultimately, for me, both of those two movies end up falling off a cliff in execution. Alright, so that is my ranking for the Terminator franchise, and give me your ranking in the comment section. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.